So right now we're going to review the definition of area and use that definition to find equations for the area of certain figures. And for this video, we're going to find the area of a rectangle. So area, the definition, is the number of unit squares that fit in a 2D figure. What that means is that if I look at a shape like this one, how many unit squares fit in this shape? The easiest way, I think, for this one is to just count how many squares there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the area of this rectangle is 6 unit squares, or 6 square units. We could do the same thing here, and we could do the same thing here. This is very helpful when we have our figures that are in grids like this, but usually we don't have these grid lines to help us out. So we need to find a pattern. I'll look at this first example again, my first rectangle. It has 6 unit squares, and I also notice that I can group them up in columns. So I have one column, a group of 2, another column that's a group of 2, another column that's a group of 2. I have 3 columns of 2. So in other words, I can use my multiplication operation to find the area of a rectangle. So I'm going to take how many columns there are, the bottom, we can call that the width, and that equals 3. This is 3 squares long. We also know that, so we have 3 columns, we have 2 rows. We'll call this the length. L equals 2. We have 2 rows and 3 columns. So for every group of 2 we have, there are 3 of them. So in other words, we'll do 2 times 3. And this area equals 6 unit squares. We'll do the same thing here. We can count the squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Or we can use the same idea, finding the width and the length. So I'm going to count how many squares the width. Width equals 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'm also going to find the length, the distance going up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Length equals 4. So I'm going to do 4 times 3, and this equals 12 unit squares. So we did length times width. This last one here, let's do this one without counting the squares. The width, I'm going to count how many is in the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The width is 6. How tall is it? 1. The length is 1. So I'm going to do length times width. I'm doing 1 times 6. And that equals 6 unit squares. 1 times 6 is 6 unit squares. So basically, to find the area of a rectangle, we are just taking the width, multiplying by the length, and it'll give us the number of unit squares there are. And I'm going to write that. I did not leave myself space, but I'm going to write this here. The area of a rectangle is going to be length times width. And this is always true for a rectangle, length times width. A lot of classes use base times height also, same idea. You're just taking one side, multiply it with the other.